2 days ago, Apex Legends Mobile announced that they will be shutting down their game forever. And I've already made a full in-depth video going over everything Apex Mobile said about this shutdown, including the details. But to sum it up, in 88 days or so, on May 1st, I believe, Apex Mobile, the servers will be getting shut down. The game will no longer cease to exist on the App Store, and you won't be able to access any of the skins or cosmetics that you've purchased because the game won't exist. Now, rightfully so, a lot of people in the community were not only shocked by this news, but were pretty upset and angered because of one specific thing Apex Mobile had to say regarding the shutdown and the way they're going about that. And that is the fact that if you spend any money on the game, then you will not be able to get a refund through EA or through Respawn. This means if you spent $500 on the Fade exclusive heirloom, then they have your $500 and you can't get it back. I will say though, I have seen some people online going through the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store and getting refunds through them directly, albeit at the cost of their Apex Mobile accounts getting banned. So if you do want to try to get a refund, I would say do it at your own risk through third-party means of the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. You could try to get refunds, but there's no promise that your Apex Mobile account will still exist. But then again, in 3 months, it's not going to exist anyways, so what's the harm there? But with that out of the way, I'm going to do my absolute best to help you guys understand and to help answer the question, why is this game shutting down? Because yesterday, that was everyone's first immediate reaction. Why? Why is this happening? What caused Apex Mobile to go from launching globally 8 or 9 months ago to shutting the game down before the first year anniversary, which is a pretty drastic thing to do. Now, you all need to understand how games work in the current game economy. There are two types of games that exist. A paid game, which is the traditional, you go to GameStop, you hand over $60 or $70, and in return, you receive a game. When you do this, you unlock like 99% of the game's content, with the remaining 1% being cosmetics that really don't ever provide any advantage or really don't need to be purchased because you already have the meat and potatoes of the game, because you've spent $60, you're supporting the developer, and in return you're getting a product. So that is how games originally started and still exist to this day in some form. But recently, and especially in the mobile scene, the free-to-play genre has exploded in popularity. Mobile gamers oftentimes don't have as much disposable income because typically they're younger, they might be kids, or they're in different areas of the world where gaming on a PC or console isn't standard or isn't custom. And so mobile gaming takes form, and that's where the free-to-play games really thrive. But as it's in the title of the game, free-to-play, if a developer launches a free-to-play game and doesn't include any way for people to make money, the game's going to shut down anyways. They have to pay the developers to develop and update the game. They have to pay to keep the actual game servers online through hosting it through different companies. So it does cost money to not only develop but to host and publish a game if it is free to play. And so they have to make money to keep the game online or to keep the game running. Now, this is where Apex Mobile really fell flat over the last 8 months, and that was the revenue department. From the very launch of the game and the very first few days, a lot of people were really upset about the revenue methods and the monetization schemes that Apex Mobile had in place. Mobile games are known for having some pretty outrageous loot boxes and monetization methods that can sometimes cost players upwards of $100 to $150 just to get a skin. I'm going to use COD Mobile as an example. If you want to max out a lucky draw and get the prized weapon that is in the draw, it's usually going to cost you well over $100 to get the skin in a free-to-play game. So I believe Apex Mobile, when they were developing their game and developing the monetization methods that would allow them to pay the developers and keep the servers online, they looked at these mobile games and were thinking, hey, we can do this too. The only problem is these games are able to get away with these crazy exorbitant prices because they have a crazy amazing game to back it up. No one's going to spend $100 on a skin if there's bugs, glitches, performance issues, lack of content. No one's going to look at the game and say, I will spend $100 and support the game and the developers, because when people are spending money on a free-to-play game, they don't need to do that 9 times out of 10. They're saying, I love this game so much that I want to spend my hard-earned money to support the developers and to support a game and a franchise that I love to play in my free time and I've devoted my time and effort into. So that is why people spend money on free-to-play games. And so when you look at Apex Legends Mobile, they tried to put the cart before the donkey, basically meaning that they prioritized making money before prioritizing a good gameplay experience for the average mobile player. They thought to themselves, hey, mobile is a genre that's blowing up. There's a lot of money to be made, so let's go make some money. But what they didn't do is they didn't spend the time to actually properly make content on a consistent schedule that allowed people to stay consistently engaged, excited to be on the platform. They famously were really bad about introducing bugs and being really slow to fix game-breaking bugs and issues in the game. After 8 months, they were never able to fully optimize the game and the platform for lower-end and middle-end devices, meaning that really only the higher-end devices and clientele could play the game at a somewhat consistent frame rate. And last but not least, they charged absolutely absurd prices for skins and cosmetics in the game. I remember doing the math one day and realizing that in order to get two character skins, like 3 or 4 weapon skins and a few other cosmetics, it was $300. Now, if you compare these two things, let's say COD Mobile with amazing content, update, performance, and fairly priced skins, to Apex Mobile, which has none of those, you can kind of see why Apex Mobile started to sink and the other mobile games that were already out there continue to dominate the mobile scene and continue to generate a lot of revenue. Now, if you all think I'm just guesstimating and that this isn't actually accurate, well, let me show you 2 pictures. This right here is the revenue graph for Apex Legends Mobile. It shows you at the start, there's a huge boom and then a pretty quick fall off of the revenue. And then there's little spikes every season or so when the new battle pass and the skins were released. But other than that, the revenue was steadily decreasing and declining over the lifespan of the game. In 8 months, Apex Mobile was only able to generate around $40 million. Now, if we compare this to Call of Duty Mobile, in the last month, in I think it was January or December of 2022, they made $30 million. So in 1 month, a mobile game that is properly ran, developed, has a good community, and doesn't keep their players in the dark about basic things, they're rewarded with $30 million of revenue. Apex Mobile, on the other hand, a game that famously was slow with updates, kept pushing big features, and would gouge their players of money, they were only able to make $2 million in this last month. And I know what you guys are thinking, $2 million, well, that's still a lot of money. That's not a lot of money in the game development scene. Now, someone out there actually found the LinkedIn of the game development studio that makes Apex Legends Mobile, and they were able to find around 60 game developers that are actively working for the studio. And let's say these game developers are making $100,000 a month, because that's a pretty average salary for a high-end game developer, minus the cost of marketing and minus the server fees. That's well over $6 million a month Apex Mobile is spending just to have the game developed, coded by these software engineers, and the game is only making $2 million a month. So the overhead for Apex Mobile, or basically the amount of money needed per month to run the game, was at least $5 to $10 million, probably depending on the month and the marketing ad spend. And if the game is only making, $2 to $3 million a month, this is where EA steps in. This is where the publicly traded company that has to report back to shareholders their earnings and how they are making money for their investors. They're going to have to say, hey, look, we had this game, Apex Mobile, or we had this mobile arm of our company, and well, it was a dumpster fire. We weren't making any money on it. We spent tens or hundreds, of millions of dollars developing these games only for us to receive a small return on investment. And so numbers wise, EA looks at Apex Mobile, or they look at their mobile development arm, and they say, we're not making any money on this. Why are we going to keep this up? And so all of these signs and the factors point to the fact that Apex Mobile just didn't make enough money. They didn't make enough money to pay the developers. They didn't make enough money to give EA or the top dogs the faith that they were going to be able to rebound and start generating more revenue for the game, to keep the doors open, to keep the lights on. And so truly, I believe that's what it is. And it also kind of ties into why they're not giving refunds. If the game, let's assume $5 million a month to develop this game, the game was up for 8 months, but it was also had 2 years in the beta. They spent well over $40 million developing, marketing, and hosting the game servers, so they didn't turn a dime. EA most likely is going to come out of this endeavor not profitable, and so the last thing they would want to do is to offer refunds to an already non-profitable operation they were running, because then they'll just be even the whole even more. They just think, hey, we weren't making money, sorry guys, it's GG's. And I can almost promise you that is why Apex Mobile has shut down. They weren't profitable, they weren't making enough money, and the higher ups thought to themselves, you all won't be able to turn it around in time for it to become profitable, for it to be worthwhile for us to keep investing in this part of the business. So at the end of the day, sadly, once again, mobile games and games in general are businesses. And when it comes to EA, a huge publicly traded entity, they are going to be much more cutthroat than, let's say, a smaller indie dev who really has a lot of heart and passion for a game, because at the end of the day, if the big boss man doesn't want to pay the bills, there's no way to keep the game up and running. So it's incredibly sucky that capitalism has ruined such a fun game. But at the same time, if Apex Mobile was actually able to deliver on their promises and was able to fix the bugs quickly and to provide optimization and to give players an overall better experience and have better monetization means, then I'm certain that this would have never happened in the first place. I'm certain Apex Mobile would have been able to make enough money to be more than profitable, and that we would never be in this situation in the first place. So it's honestly not the community's fault, it's Apex's fault that they weren't able to provide a good enough experience for people to want to spend their hard-earned money to support the devs to keep this game up and running. So it's all speculation, but that really feels pretty close to the mark as to why Apex Mobile has decided to shut their doors. I have maybe another few Apex Mobile videos coming out on the horizon, but for the most part, I'm gonna move on. And so I hope I can provide some clarity and some resolution to how you all are feeling. Trust me, I've been there. It absolutely sucks, but the best thing you can do is just forget about it, move on, and take this as a learning opportunity. As just because a big AAA studio is behind a game doesn't mean it's gonna exist forever, and doesn't mean they're not going to end up screwing the player base at the end of the day. So hope you all enjoyed the video. Been your boy, DuckyTheGamer. Catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.